Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are 1 week off earnings season. My favourite time as a stock market investor is when we get to earnings season and you get that update from your company and how everything's going. And yeah, we are 1 week off. Look at all them companies that are going to report in. It's going to get a little bit crazy. But this time round, I have noticed something a little bit different with earnings season. I am seeing something a little bit worrying and I'm going to share that with you guys today. So I appreciate you hitting that like button for me sharing this with you and we'll get stuck into it. So yeah, like I said, there's some red flags that, in my opinion, you need to be careful of going into earnings season, and this is something that I'm also considering as well. Now, I actually noticed these problems back in summertime. It was a trip to McDonald's. I went to McDonald's and I got I went to go get a milkshake and I got there and there was no milkshakes, and I kind of put it down to that thing of, okay, it's a classic, the milkshake machine's broken and everything like that. And it wasn't until a couple of days later that I noticed there was actually some reports on the problems that they were having, and McDonald's were having supply chain issues getting the milkshakes in. So I was like, okay, fair enough. And then after that, it went to the likes of Coca-Cola reporting they were having some supply chain issues as well. And it was just getting a little bit more and more. There's a lot of supply chain issues going on. And as well as that, in that time, it actually started making its way into them companies' earnings. So a while ago, we had the earnings from Boohoo that basically went on to say they had supply chain issues. And one of the big things that you will have noticed recently is that their supply chain costs or their shipping costs have gone up a huge amount. So the big problems you have at the moment is you have a lot of shipping costs that have gone up a huge amount, and also they're taking a long time. And this was the first kind of evidence in Boohoo's earnings. And the next, or recently, what we've had is ASOS earnings, and they've come out and they've said exactly the same thing. So we're having companies that are struggling to get supplies, and when they are doing that, it is costing a lot, and that is having a big massive effect on these companies. Now, I thought this was a UK thing. I thought it was just like, the petrol situation. Mostly the big thing is the UK side of it, because we have the combination of the CV, a bit of the Brexit thing going on. I thought it's maybe just sticking to the UK, but something changed last night. Last night was the first time that I have started to see this starting to creep into the US side of it as well, and that was Corsair. So Corsair is currently down after reporting their preliminary earnings. They came out and basically said, sometimes you either do this, you either come out and say, oh, the earnings are going to be a lot better than what we thought, or you come out and say, look, they're not going to be that good. And Corsair actually came out and saying that they're not going to be that good. They put it down to a lot of supply chain issues. Now, we actually heard about this originally from Corsair in their last Q2 earnings, but we didn't think about it that much because their last Q2 earnings were absolutely amazing. But they said in the earnings, look, we could have actually done even better if it wasn't for some of the supply chain issues that we have. And going into Q3, it's evident that it's got even worse, and they came out and said, look, we've basically struggled to meet earnings this time around because of supply chain issues, and that's took an effect into the stock. So what you have here is you have two UK companies that basically came out and said, we've got a few problems here, and now we're starting to see this actually creep into some US companies. Corsair, who said this previously in Q2, and now it's got even worse in Q3, having supply chain issues, and that is the cost of the products and getting them sorted and getting them across, and also the having to get them across. It's just not exactly happening, and that puts us in a really tricky position, because what's next? Coming up in the next few weeks, we have a lot of major earnings coming up. Now, what is the common theme here with a lot of these companies? It's companies that actually sell physical products, and what we could see in the next coming few weeks is a few of these companies that do sell physical products have a little bit of a hit in these earnings season, because we've seen it with Boohoo, we've seen it with ASOS, and now we see it creeping into a lot of US stocks where there is problems with supply chain issues. So we could see coming up any sort of products that sell, or any companies that sell physical products could be some earnings to watch, and they could be dropping because they either miss earnings because they're paying a lot for the shipping containers, or they could not have any revenue or profit because they weren't able to get the product. So that is something to really keep out an eye on in the next coming few weeks with earnings season. Any sort of companies that you look at with physical products, they could take a little bit of a dip next week, and that is something to watch. I'm watching that very closely with companies that I own, like the likes of Tattooed Chef, with the likes of Beyond Meat, for example. But I'm also looking at stocks that I don't own, and potential opportunities for stocks that do sell physical products that maybe they have a dip on earnings in the next few weeks, and I might get some buying opportunities in the next few weeks, and that's what I'm considering. So it's a little bit of a red flag if you do own your own stocks that sell physical products, just that you could have a drop in the next few weeks. But also, it could be a very good thing that you might get a company that you want that's been a bit highly priced for the last few weeks or last few years that might come on a little bit of a drop. So I guess what's my game plan going into this situation, and just being prepared with some of the red flags that are being shown here with the likes of Boohoo, ASOS and Corsair with their earnings, is first of all, build cash. If we do have the drops in some of these companies like a Corsair, like a Boohoo, like an ASOS, the big thing to capitalise on that is cash. If you don't have any cash on the sidelines, you won't be able to buy the dip, and that's why it's always really important to keep cash on the sidelines. It's why this week I have bought a couple of stocks, but I haven't been buying anywhere as heavy as what I've been doing the last couple of weeks, just starting to want to build that cash pile up. And also, another point is Tesla. Tesla is a company that sells obviously physical products. They sell cars, and they've had a lot of supply chain issues. And if you listen to GM, GM sound like they are having a lot of problems. But a very similar car company, Tesla, even though they've said we are having supply chain issues, they are still banging out very strong numbers. So the big thing is, even though these red flags are showing, it could not happen because you have the likes of General Motors that are coming out saying they're struggling. Tesla say they're struggling, but they're still banging out really good financial numbers. So this isn't a situation where you want to be gambling on the short term of the next kind of couple of weeks or 3 months and go, if they're going to have supply chain issues, I want to sell out of the company, because they might do a Tesla and go, yeah, we're having problems, but we still put in really good financial results. So this is a short term thing. As a long term investor, I wouldn't make any decisions on an investment because of the next kind of 3 months of supply chain issues or 6 months. Like Corsair dropped yesterday. Not selling it. It probably might be worth a full video on it, but I'm not selling stock because I look at it and go, yeah, bit of a bad earnings, but will this carry on for the next kind of past 6 months? Personally, I don't think so, and that's why I'm happy to hold it. And it's not something I would kind of obviously build cash for the opportunities, but I wouldn't potentially play this as, be a short-term trader and sell out because they might drop. They might do a Tesla, and we haven't got Tesla's earnings, but the delivery side of it looks really strong. So it looks like Tesla could put in really good financials. So then you don't want to be in a situation where actually, beyond me, I sell out because they might have supply chain issues. Turns out they've done absolutely fine and the stock goes up. You don't want to become a short-term trader on this, but it's just something to be prepared of, and that could be with like a Tesla situation. So overall, my thoughts are, just be careful, build that cash pile for opportunities. Even though it might affect stocks in the short term, it's probably not something to panic over a long-term thing. And you might actually have a situation which looks like Tesla could put a strong earnings in, because what we've seen on the delivery side, it's been pretty good. But it is something to be careful of. It's something to consider with a lot of stocks that sell these physical products, and it's also something just to put down as maybe a little buy list of some companies that you might be interested in if they do have a drop of earnings because of these issues. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed me sharing this with you, and just something to keep an eye on going in the next few weeks, because like I said, it's clear that there's a few companies having problems with this, and it might make some buying opportunities in the stock market. So yeah, obviously something that is a bit more short term, and something that could make a great buying opportunity for us long-term investors on this little short-term dip that might happen because of these financial results. So I hope you enjoyed it. Hit the like button if you're new, subscribe, and I'll see you next video.